Hello everybody, here we are today doing another playoff preview, this time between the Colorado Avalanche and the Winnipeg Jets. Now before we start with it, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So how exactly did we get here? We got here with the Colorado Avalanche doing what they do best, winning a bunch of games, being a team that is driven by their stars especially, and while they didn't win the division, they had another really good year where they got aggressive near the trade deadline and were one of the more improved sides potentially if you feel that for the playoffs. And I think they are a team to watch out for, as this first round is going to be possibly one of many rounds that they go on to win. Now, the Jets were no slouch either during this season, seeing a huge step forward after being the second wildcard team last year, getting knocked out in the first round. Things went really well for this side, as they were able to be just the second team in this version of the Jets era to get 50 wins or more, being able to just go out there and put away all of the noise from last season and have the second best season in franchise history. Again, this version of the Jets, very commendable for them. With that being said, this is the first time that these two teams have ever met in the playoffs to my knowledge, and now we get to talk about which storylines to watch out for in this series. So the first one is the season series and its results. Now this is a deal where them being the 2 and the 3 seeds, they got to play each other in the first round with how the playoff bracket works right now, and it is what it is. But looking at this, these two teams got to play each other all 3 times, and the Winnipeg Jets were undefeated in all 3 of these games. Not only that, but they won all of them in regulation. Looking at these, I don't typically look at season series and say this is going to be a great indicator, but the Jets were able to, in their past 2 games, beat the Avalanche 6-2 and 7-0. And that third and final game was very recent in the touchdown PAT game that they had there. They didn't even need an empty net goal, which could be a big indicator that the Jets might be able to take this series and do it with ease. And I think one of the things that went really well for the Jets in order to win all these games, especially these last 2, is the fact they got out to a very early lead. They were up by 2 goals in the first period in both of these games and made the Avalanche play catch up. Something that's not really fun to do. On top of that too, the Jets scored some unlikely goals as well as getting shots down low to make their lives a little bit easier, something you want to watch out for. Plus, Connor Hellebuyck looked really good in this series as his save percentage was sparkling. Get this, in these 3 games he had 98 shots against and allowed just 4 goals, a .959 save percentage with a shutout. I look at this and see a former Vezina winner that's having a good year. Again, could be an indicator of good things to come. I know the shots were about even in this series, but like I said, with the Jets getting out to an early lead, they got to play a little bit back in the third period where the Avs were trying to be aggressive even though they were down by a lot of goals. I think if Hellebuyck settles in and the Jets get out to that early lead in the first part of the series in multiple games, it's going to be very tough for the Avalanche to be able to do anything because they've been in this spot before and weren't able to come away with a win. So the second storyline is, should the Colorado Avalanche be worried about their goalie? So Alexander Georgiev is a goalie that can be good, but this year has not been a great year for him. The Avalanche used him as their primary starter. He cracked the 60 games played mark as well as the 60 starts mark. Things didn't really look incredible here as he had a 3.02 goals against average. His save percentage wasn't that great either at .897, and things are not looking great in terms of quality start percentage. The Bulgarian-born goalie has struggled as of late too, as over his past 6 games he's allowed 26 goals and has a save percentage of .840. So even before this, a sub-900 save percentage for the year, but recently, things have not looked really good for him, sparking a lot of concern about whether or not he should be the starter, despite the fact they continue to rely on him. And while the Colorado Avalanche are not the best team in the league defensively, they are far from being the worst team in the league defensively. And we know that goalies a lot of times will have up and down seasons. A lot of goalies have talked about this, even former goalies. Martin Brodeur, of course, talked about this recently, saying that it's difficult to be able to have a long period of success. Georgiev in this mindset right now just could be in a bad spot, mentally trying to get back in the groove of things. But Justus Önninen could be a guy that could go out there and take a spot, a 2.35 goals against average and a save percentage that is significantly better than Georgiev at the moment at .935. Excuse me, it's .925. The 2.35 mixed me up there. But I just would think that Georgiev is going to be on a pretty short leash here. Again, bad year, struggled as of late, team that got knocked out in the first round. They've got another guy that's been able to be pretty good, and the Jets have been able to thrash on the Avs in the first 3 games of the year. Should say 2 games really, the first game wasn't a blowout. But if they give up a lot of goals, especially in the first game, I'm imagining that he's going to be out, and we'll see what Justus can do. and I'm hoping that they can at least make it a competitive series. Then the third storyline will be whose Rentals will step up for them. This is not to say that both teams will not have their stars shine, but both of them did bring in some names to try to beef up their odds of getting past the first round. And looking at two players for the Avalanche, Casey Mittelstadt and Sean Walker. Mittelstadt is a very fun piece here because he was good in Buffalo, and you kind of have to imagine he's going to be good in Colorado, getting about 16 minutes a night on average. Kind of on the lower end. I'd like to see him get more in the playoffs if things are going well. He's part of the now and also part of the future likely too. So you want to be able to see him thrive, especially in this playoff period, because then you could be thinking about, oh, in the future we have a really good younger player that could be part of this team trying to retain players but also be good for multiple years, despite some financial things that get it to be a little bit more difficult. Now, looking at a guy like Sean Walker, he was brought in. He's probably going to be a rental here. I know that his goals for percentage doesn't look incredible here, his goal differential, however you want to look at it. Part of that comes down to the PK lowering his numbers here a bit. He is somebody that I feel like could be valuable because the Avalanche rely, especially on their top pairing defenseman, so much for minutes. I really would like to be able to see him come into this series, and even if he's not going to be able to put up a lot of offensive numbers, see him go out there and be able to eat up some minutes a little bit and just make it easier for the minutes in the rotation, especially for like top pairing guys. You're going to be looking at Makar and Taves getting a lot of minutes, yes, but you don't want them to be gassed. Bringing in a guy like Walker could help this blue line be able to be a little bit more balanced. And again, I do think maybe he could go out there and contribute offensively. I'm not saying that these are going to be guys that go out there and outperform guys like McKinnon and Makar or even Taves, anything like that. But they were brought in to be able to help this team go out there and maybe even win another championship. And then, of course, you have the Jets additions of Sean Monahan and Tyler Toffoli. Monahan brought in a guy that ended up having a good period where he had 8 goals in his first 13 games. He has 5 over his last 20. I'm going to be honest here, I am cheating a little bit. Currently, they've only played 81 games, so maybe he scores some goals in this game. It's against the Canucks, but I got to get these playoff previews ready to go. Either way, cooled off a bit in this period. You're hoping that he can have that earlier period where he was a hot goal scorer for them and could be helping out additionally, provide some secondary scoring. Tyler Toffoli, another player, a veteran that has been able to thrive in a lot of environments. You're probably sick of hearing me talk about Tyler Toffoli if you followed the channel for a while because I'm a big Toffoli fan. I feel like a lot of times he's able to produce in any environment like we've seen. Had a 30-plus goal season. Again, as a guy that is in his 30s, he averages about half a point per game in the playoffs. I'm hoping that he can contribute for this side because he went from New Jersey and he's going over to another team that was able to make the playoffs. You don't really know how many more opportunities you're going to get, how many kicks at the can, if you will, and you'd like to think that Toffoli could help out this team as they wanted to go out there and get him. Now, I'm going to be honest, both of these players could very well be and likely will be rentals, but you want to think they're able to contribute to something bigger. And the Jets haven't been able to go and do a whole lot since the 2018 Stanley Cup Western Conference final run. And I just would like to see them get at least somewhere, either the second round conference final. I don't care whether it's this year or in the coming years. I want to see that success and reinvigorate this fan base that's been able to provide a lot of enthusiasm for him. While Jets GM Kevin Cheveldayoff didn't go out there and get Jake Gensel, these are two names that you're probably aware of if you follow the league. Tyler Toffoli, maybe a little bit more than Monahan. Monahan, if you keep up with the NHL, you probably are somewhat aware of what he's been able to do in his career. And it's not necessarily going out and getting the biggest fish, but it's complementary pieces where if he didn't do anything, you'd probably be very unhappy with this. They had a really good year. A first-round exit is not going to make the fan base happy. Cheveldayoff brings in some guys to hopefully be able to get them into the second round for the first time in a little bit. So overall, what are my thoughts on this series? I think this is going to be a series that is looked at as very important for both teams. In a couple of years, maybe even by next year, the Avalanche are a team we've talked about with financial issues. Is this going to be a season where this is the best they can do in terms of making trades happen and getting things to work within the cap? That remains to be seen. The Jets have some older guys where maybe it's going to be more difficult for them to be able to replicate the success. And unfortunately, with this being the playoff format that we have, whether you love it or hate it, you do tend to see some really good teams in the first round have to play each other, and one of them ends up going home. In this case, one of the teams is going to go home very, very unhappy. And to me, the series is going to rely for Colorado on whether or not their stars can get hot. If they do, Winnipeg's going to have a hard time limiting things here. But if they're able to keep the Avalanche goal scorers and just the offensive creators, with the Avs being so dangerous off the rush kind of in check, You think maybe it's going to be possible to get it done. Again, Connor Hellebuyck's had a good year, and the Avalanche have been far from perfect. While they've still been good, they are beatable. This series is just very difficult to pick. So for this series, who am I going to pick? I will be picking the Winnipeg Jets in 7 games. I went back and forth with this series. This might be the series I'm most conflicted with because both of these sides could very well go out there and go on a heater, but I just don't know. I look at the Avalanche and I feel like the bias in me will say 2022 champion, team that's been really good over a while now with plenty of firepower to get the job done, score a lot of goals, and just know how to move on in the playoffs. Whereas the Jets, I look at them, able to keep the puck out. Again, Hellebuyck, good year, and some depth. I mean, looking at this team, maybe they don't have a Nathan MacKinnon, but they have a lot of really good guys. I don't know if Nino Niederreiter is going to be coming back to this. I know he's injured at the moment, but if you throw him in there, again, looking at the forwards, say, okay, that's really good. And I do know that I really like what I'm seeing from Colorado's blue line. But again, Winnipeg, not too bad there either. So I just don't know. I really have no idea. I feel like with this, you try to get bold. And I feel like I'm bold picking the team to win. That's the Jets, even though they are the favorite in the series in terms of the standings. I don't know what to say. I guess I'm just trying to say that I trust Connor Hellebuyck here, and we are going to see if the Avs are able to get it done. If they get it done, great team, not surprised. If the Jets get it done, a really good team, not surprised either. We're going to see. So, who do you think will win this series in a tightly contested battle? The Colorado Avalanche or the Winnipeg Jets? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Also, please make sure to check out the other playoff previews. If you're interested, at the end of this video, I'll have a playlist you can click on at the end. Everybody, make sure to stay safe. Have a great night. And Eagle of Hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.